Hello, everybody, and welcome and good afternoon. My name's Don Arleth, and you're watching World News. We start off with more Russian drone attacks on Kharkiv, targeting civilian infrastructure and buildings, injuring two. Ukraine's second largest city is located just 30 kilometers from the Russian border.
Regarding the consequences of the attack on Kharkiv, 3 Shahed drones struck the city, hitting a manufacturing facility that had nothing to do with defense production. In addition, 20 residential buildings were damaged, 5 houses and 15 apartment buildings. As for the injured, there are 2 people who sought help for acute stress reactions.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said on social media that troops have downed over 150 Russian drones since early November. He added that Ukraine will keep advancing anti-drone technology as Russian strikes persist.
Almost every night, our defenders of the sky are working to repel Russian attacks. Together with electronic warfare units, army aviation and mobile fire groups, the results of interceptor drones are already significantly increasing, more than 150 since the beginning of the month already, including shootdowns tonight, and there will be more. We will definitely continue to develop interceptor drone technology and train crews. The Ministry of Defense is contracting all available production capacity for interceptors. We are working on closer cooperation with partners. Joint production and financing will let us scale this up faster. Thank you to everyone advancing this effort.
Ukraine has suspended Justice Minister German Galushchenko amid a corruption probe into the energy sector following the dismantling of a $100 million laundering scheme involving Energoatom executives and former officials. So far, 5 people have been detained and 7 charged, including ex-minister Oleksiy Chernyshov and businessman Timur Mindich, a former associate of President Zelenskyy.
Ukraine's government has suspended Justice Minister German Galushchenko as part of the ongoing investigation into corruption in the energy sector.
This morning, we held an emergency government session and approved the decision to suspend German Galushchenko from his duties as Justice Minister.
The High Anti-Corruption Court is also considering preventative measures for Ihor Myroniuk, one of the suspects in the embezzlement of funds from Energoatom, who is considered a flight risk. According to the investigation, he was one of the key participants in a scheme for which tens of millions of dollars could have been siphoned from the state-owned company.
Having created a criminal organization, Mindich, Zuckerman, Ustimenko, Fusenko, Zorina, Myroniuk and Basov, as well as other unidentified participants, received funds as an indirect benefit for performing actions using their official position in the interest of counterparties of the state nuclear power company Energoatom and subsequent money laundering.
The group reportedly included former energy officials and executives at the state nuclear power giant Energoatom and managed to launder around $100 million. 5 people have been detained and 7 have been charged so far.
Any effective action against corruption is necessary, punishment is necessary. Energoatom provides Ukraine with the largest share of energy generation. Transparency in the company is a priority.
Former Minister of National Unity Oleksiy Chernyshov is among the accused, alongside Timur Mindich, a businessman and former associate of President Zelenskyy.
Power outages in Kyiv highlight both Russian attacks on energy infrastructure and Ukraine's failure to fortify critical sites, partly due to corruption within Energoatom. Citizens are demanding that President Zelenskyy act decisively by removing officials implicated in graft and allowing anti-corruption bodies to proceed without interference. That's according to Daria Kalenyuk, co-founder of the International Center for Ukrainian Victory.
I'm now in Kyiv and I don't have electricity. Electricity cuts are happening every day. And basically, one of the reasons, a clear reason, is that Russians are attacking our critical energy infrastructure. But another reason is that Ukrainian critical energy infrastructure was not prepared properly for these attacks. The defensive construction sites were not built on time. And one of the reasons is that there was this organized crime group working and influencing the critical energy infrastructure company Energoatom and embezzling the funds. So, and people of Ukraine are watching all of that. They are very angry. They expect President Zelenskyy to react straightforwardly. It's not enough to have 30 seconds message to the people of Ukraine, which he recorded 2 days ago, that he said we are waiting for the court verdicts. We can wait for the court verdicts for years. But now it is important for Zelenskyy to basically avoid covering up his inner circle and let anti-corruption bodies to complete their jobs. And those who are suspect in large-scale graft and corruption must be dismissed immediately from the important top governmental positions.
German police have linked the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline to the former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces, Oleksiy Chernyshov, according to the Wall Street Journal. Chernyshov currently serves as Ukraine's ambassador to the United Kingdom. The outlet reported that the Germans claim to have a, quote, clear picture that the act was conducted by an elite Ukrainian military unit under the supervision of Kyiv's ex-military chief. Germany has been looking into the case for nearly 3 years after 3 of the 4 gas pipelines connecting Russia and Germany were damaged and rendered inoperable in September of 2022, several months after the outbreak of the Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine. 2 suspects in the sabotage case have been apprehended, with one awaiting next month's extradition ruling in Italy, while the other was acquitted of all charges by a Polish court last month. Before the verdict, Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk said extradition of the suspect wouldn't be in his country's interest. Rescue and investigation teams are hard at work in eastern Georgia following the crash of Turkish military aircraft shortly after takeoff from Azerbaijan on Tuesday evening. The C-130 cargo aircraft left Azerbaijan for Turkey and crashed in the Sinagi municipality, approximately 5 kilometers from the Georgia-Azerbaijan border. Turkey's defense ministry says 20 military personnel were on board at the time. The cause of the crash remains under investigation, with Turkish and Georgian teams inspecting the site since early Wednesday. Some analysts have said footage and images indicate that the plane broke apart mid-flight, with some commentators raising concerns over Turkey's aging C-130 fleet. Azerbaijan, Georgia, NATO Secretary General, the United States, Russia, and others sent condolences and expressed solidarity with Turkey after the crash. In Romania, hundreds of women have taken to the streets in Bucharest following the killing of a young woman in a case that has reignited outrage over domestic violence. Activists say the tragedy exposes serious gaps in the country's efforts to protect women from domestic abuse. Hundreds of women gathered in Bucharest's Victoria Square on Tuesday evening after a 25-year-old woman was allegedly stabbed to death by her former partner and the father of her 3 children. Organizers say the suspect had a history of violence and was under 2 court-issued protection orders. The rally, organized by the feminist group Centrul Filia, called for swift approval of a new bill aimed at strengthening Romania's response to gender-based killings. The victim was the 51st woman killed in a domestic violence case this year alone, while Romania continues to report some of the highest rates of abuse against women in the European Union. The jailed mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, could face more than 2,000 years in prison after a prosecutor indicted him on charges of allegedly leading a large corruption network that cost the state nearly $4 billion.
İmamoğlu, who is the main rival to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has also been accused of, quote, bribery, establishing an organization for committing crimes of forgery, rigging public bids and disseminating disinformation. His own party and the main opposition group, the Republican People's Party, dismissed the allegations as nonsense and suggested they were politically motivated. Alongside Imamoglu, more than 400 mayors, municipal administrators, business people and opposition politicians have also been named as suspects in the indictment. Considered a frontrunner in the 2028 presidential election, Imamoglu first won the Istanbul mayoral election in 2019 and was re-elected in 2024. Turkey saw a wave of nationwide protests in March after he was arrested pending trial on suspicion of corruption. He has been in custody ever since.
In Moscow, the public unveiling of Russia's first AI-powered humanoid robot didn't go exactly as planned. The highly anticipated debut ended abruptly after a technical mishap on stage. The robot, named A-Idol, was being presented during a product launch when it suddenly lost balance and fell over while greeting the audience. Handlers quickly covered the robot and carried it off stage, forcing organizers to cancel the presentation. Vladimir Vythukin, CEO of the startup behind the project, blamed the fall on calibration issues caused by lighting or a technical glitch. Earlier, Vythukin emphasized that the robot is 77% made of Russian components, a significant detail amid widespread Western sanctions that have hindered the country's access to high-tech imports. Later, the robot was brought back onto the stage and it managed to remain upright. But the incident has nonetheless gone viral and become the subject of numerous memes across social media. And that concludes this edition of World News. Thank you for joining us this morning. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.